All right, everyone, welcome. Thank you all for being here. Um, so today I want to talk a little bit about the evolution of our own spiritual growth over a time period and how that compares, how the past, and I will use myself as an example. Uh, I was sharing with the class before we began to record and to go on this session that in some ways, I believe where I was spiritually, the kind of alignment and connection I had to my God and to spirit and to the universe and to source was much more unbreakable than it is of late. And part of it is that since the pandemic began and we were in lockdown, there's been so many other distractions that have taken me off center and have gotten me to lose my alignment to spirit in ways that I didn't think. If it was 10, 8 years, 7 years ago, I would never think it was possible. Because in terms of my dedication to the work and my discipline and my focus, I was there. And because of this, a lot of my students can attest to this, a lot of my clients can attest to this, I was on. And with literally, and again, the power is not mine. I want you to understand this. The power is not mine. Pierre doesn't have any power. All I have is an alignment to God. And to the degree that alignment comes with certainty, it's to the degree it will appear to the rest of you that I am a miracle worker or that I'm a great healer. Okay? But it's not my power. All I do is that I beseech and I request and I ask. But when you do it with incredible certainty, and when your intention is pure and it's coming from such a deep place in your heart, and there is no distraction nor the fear that's interfering with that alignment, God hears you. And when that happens, the universe responds. There is like an echo. And the echo responds, and almost miraculously and instantaneously, people around you, everybody benefits. Everything is in like miraculous and instantaneous order. So what one of the things that I've been realizing over the past few weeks, over a week now, is that I have to refine the discipline that I used to have to go back into the alignment, the true alignment that I had. And it's because part of it is that because of all distraction, let's say climate change events, there was a huge, gigantic series of tornadoes that passed through Mississippi that destroyed and wiped out all kinds of things. I know that Esther and Bobby are not on the call today. It's because their hometown in Mississippi was wiped out clean. The town doesn't exist anymore. Okay? Although they live 10 miles out of that area, I don't think they have family member in the town anymore, but everything was wiped out. Gigantic tornado that was over a mile wide in the middle of the night. There's so many disastrous and catastrophic things that are happening around the world that there's enough distraction to cause anyone to begin to worry and be concerned. And what this does initially, and I remember very specifically before the pandemic, how it felt to me. Like I was in my alignment, I was fine. And then very slowly, it felt like in my perimeter, there was a cloud that was hovering about. Okay? And it was spinning around and spinning around and spinning around. And very slowly, one morning I woke up, and this was for several days. Like I would get up in the morning, I can feel like a gigantic flashlight. The light was there because I'm doing my practice. And then one morning I wake up after several days of experiencing that there's a kind of, again, the environment is bombarding us with these fear external events. And very slowly the fear begin to penetrate. Every newscast, they're talking about all the disasters that are happening around the world and all the things that are, and very slowly it encroaches. And I would wake up one morning and feel that fear is now inside of me and I'm out of alignment. I'm no longer connected to that certainty. Something else is in there, and it feels so alien to me that I will do anything, take Brillo to scrub it out, to try to figure out a way to get rid of it. Okay? And I'm sharing this with you because I want you to understand. I'm using myself as an example to kind of illuminate for you. And I don't know if it's where you are, but I just want to share that with you and give you a visual, because teaching by example is the best way. People don't learn by what you tell them, mechanics and techniques. They learn by watching and by example. So the next thing, so this has been going on for a while now, and I'm doing all this kind of protocol. I go back, and when that encroaching thing happened, it's sheer panic because I don't know what's going on. And the next thing you know, I'm trying to figure out a way to get rid of it, and I have to sometimes watch my videos or go back over my own writing and channeling to remember how to do universal breath, which is one of the first things I ever taught you. Because because you're in such panic, there is an amnesia that sets upon you when you begin to forget what you used to do. You remember the nice place, the place where the alignment was, but you don't know how to get there. It's like there's an amnesia. And I have to go back and watch my own videos to remember where is the universal breath? What am I supposed to? What's the first step? What's the second? What's the third? How am I supposed to do this? Something that I teach all the time that I so-called could teach in my sleep. And when I'm in that emotional state, I don't remember, because that amnesia just comes over me. And then I then begun to slowly and realize that I have to move on to something. And over time, I remember it. I'm able to push it out. I'm able to reconcile, and then until the next event of the next cloud that encroaches again, I push it out. And what I have to realize is that it's not that I've lost my connection and my alignment to the divine. It's that I am learning how to be aligned to the divine in a completely turbulent and different planetary environment. The outside has changed dramatically. It is way more stressful. It is way more agitating. It is way more polarizing. And I have to relearn how to use the same muscle, the same mechanic, the same protocol that I channeled and that God gifted me with. I have to now learn how to use them in that environment, to understand that what were initially internal blockages, internal resisting factors, internal fears that were emotional and psychological for me are now external. And that external is now pushing and inflating the internal, what I thought were already mastered psychological problems in a way that I never saw before. It's inflating them, right? So I'm learning all of this, and I'm saying all of this to you to give you a roadmap to we establish a new covenant with God to allow us to reconnect in a way that we may not have connected with God in a very long time. Because what happens is that when you spend your time worrying and realizing, first, for me, the thing about it is that when these great events begin to happen, you become first shell shock. You're like, I can't believe it. When you're thinking about Northern California, there are some places, for example, that have received 57 feet of snow. You have to understand, a one-story building is 10 feet. This is a 5-story building in small towns in the mountain of San Bernardino in California or other areas. When you think about the size of this and the scope, it's daunting. It's kind of like overwhelming. When you think about the floods or earthquake that had just happened in Turkey, all these other things that are happening around the world, and I don't want to be the ostrich and put my head on the sand and say the world doesn't exist. I'm just going to worry about what's, create a bubble around me, and I exist only in the bubble, right? I need to be engaged and figure out a way that I, as a spiritual being, can have a positive impact to align the rest of the world. Because this is, after all, why we signed up for. We came here around this time to be consciously a spiritual being that are aligned with God, and we're here as heralds, as trailblazers, to create a path, a chariot, so that others can find their way to alignment. But I have to find it first. I have to find it first. I have to figure out how to get to it. So whatever it is that I learned when things were so much more calmer, I had conquered what I thought were all my at least a lot of my inner demons, not all of them, a lot of my inner demons. And now the external is agitating them in ways that I never thought was possible. If you had told me that it would be you, and what happens is that when you get that agitated, you attract more agitation. Okay, when you get agitated and you get in a conscious in a state of mind where your consciousness is in turbulence, you will attract more turbulence. Everything begins to irritate you. Everything begins to trigger you, and you seem to bring more and more and more of this thing that you're afraid of, or that you're trying to banish or vanquish, or more importantly, control. The problem is that we're trying to control everything. And the more I can let go and stop trying to control and realize that a lot of the external stuff is beyond my capability to control. This is way beyond my pay grade. Okay, a tornado of that size, for all the things that are happening now, it wasn't just tornado, by the way. There were lots. There was a series of lightning strike that went right behind it that went all the way across. And so I can't control this. And I have to realize that these are acts of God, and it's beyond my capability as a healer, as an empath, as a person who's trying to help humanity to control this. And in whatever ways, although I'm praying for that survivors still exist and that they can dig them out, and I'm praying that for the soul of the people who have departed, and for the loss and the grieving of surviving family members, but there is nothing I can do about trying to stop this, like I'm Gandalf, and I can say, you shall not pass. Okay? So I need to understand this, and I need to accept this to be true. And so pick your battle. Pick your battle. You have to ask yourself when these things are are being presented to you, is this something that I can change? When you're worried about X, Y, Z, and the other, are you doing this because you're trying to control the circumstances, the people involved? Or are you trying to change people to make them acquiesce to a version of the world that you perceive, or you actually uh, 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 accepting that there is change and transformation afoot, and there's turbulence, and you cannot control the turbulence. What you can control is your connection to peace and serenity, and go to a different state of mind so that you can have immunity protocol. And that immunity can come from a different consciousness. Because if you remain in the same consciousness, you cannot have it. I was using the example today of, I was telling Janice earlier about this woman that a friend I meet on the waterfront. She lives down the street from me, several blocks away. And we see ourselves on my walk on the waterfront almost daily. And I've not seen her over a month. And she was crunched over. She was sitting there. She's always walking. She's retired. She's always walking very fast. Hey, Pierre, how you doing? I gotta run because I want to make it to the battery park and come back. And she does this every day, right? She was sitting around with a back hunched over, and I'm like, Janet, is everything okay? Are you all right? And she came over. I came over and I sat with her. She's so worried about her passing. She doesn't have anybody else. She's so worried about the state of the world. She has to make funeral arrangements, and she has to do this, and she has to leave 3 friends in charge because she doesn't have any other family members. And this long story that she was telling me what she's worried about and worried and worried. And I said to her, okay, when you went to the doctor, what the doctor says about everything's in normal range. I'm in perfect health. I said to her, okay, so now you're so worried about your passing that you're making yourself sick and depressed and raising your blood pressure, right? So, and when in fact your health currently is perfectly normal. I said, you've already made your arrangement. You went to a lawyer. You went to the bank. You spoke to the funeral parlor. All of the arrangements are already made. Everything is written down. Chillax. Chillax. Go out with your friends. Smile. I want to see you walking again up and down very fast, the way you used to do it. Instead of you sitting down. And as I'm saying this to her, okay, here's the part that this is the mirror that relates back to me. As I'm saying this to her, there's a flash of a mirror, because every external experience is a mirror. There's a flash of a mirror, and I'm like, okay, internally, in what way are you like Janet? Okay? What part of your life right now are you unnecessarily agitated over for no reason, when in fact it's not based in reality? And I can think of 2 or 3 things that I'm concerned about that do not deserve that kind of scrutiny and attention. Okay? And everything is a mirror. So immediately I'm like, okay, she's worried and she's concerned and she's creating an entire mountain out of a molehill. There's no reason for her to be worried. And so I'm realizing now that, okay, I'm going to attract very much like her. I'm going to caught, it's like the cat that's chasing its own tail. I'm going to be caught in a loop, and I'm going to be chasing my own tail, doing the same thing over and over again, when in fact, it's just my own tail. If you just realize that for a moment, that there is no pressure, no worry. You're raising your blood pressure, her eyes are twitching. They had to give her medication for it and blah, 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 because she's making herself sick because she was worried about this. And that sickness could kill her. So this is the point. That sickness could kill her. and make that a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I realized this about myself, and I have to, and I've been realizing this for the past few weeks, that I have to shift my awareness to the former me. And I don't want to say, okay, I'm still the same person. I'm growing. We are now, the whole planet is in a different environment, and we're moving. If you can think of a boiling pot, and we have uncovered the pot, and the steam of the heat is just hitting us, right? And there is a potential that some of the bubble will pop up and burn us. Whereas before, you watch a video, you understand the protocol, you know how to do the recipe. It's not the same thing as doing the thing itself. We are now in the doing. Whereas before, I trained quite a bit extensively. I spent a lot of time realigning my consciousness to so many things. I did quite an extensive amount of work. I was able to help quite a bit of people with that alignment. Now I'm actually doing the cooking, and but this time, with the heat in front of me, with all of I have to chop this first. I have to, instead of it being a more detached kind of learning, it's now I'm inside of it. I'm inside of it, and I have to navigate what it is now to exist in that turbulent environment and still remain non-attached to all of the turbulence that are happening around me. The greatest, and all these turbulence are doing basically one thing. They are trying to tell you that you're in lack and that you're not in control. There is lack, whether it's lack of health, lack of money, lack of love, lack of friendship, lack of prosperity. It's lack. You're in lack. You're disconnected. You're separated. You're in lack, and you're alone. So the idea is to connect back to a different awareness where I remember existing in that awareness, where I was in alignment and in certainty that I am not alone. That I was so aligned to the divine that the Galactic Region Council and the Guardian Alliance of Light I was so connected to them, I could feel them palpably existing in me. And it was so strong and so powerful that when and in front of people, there's a protocol I've taught you how to do with big on time and space, and I project the Guardian Light. Everybody in the room, every person, every molecule got changed immediately. And I could, and it was something that I could, it's like at an intellectual level, I know this to be true, but I am still distant from that space where I could actually do it. I'm moving back into it. Do you understand? I'm moving back into it. But I am not yet, in the same equal certainty that I was, let's say, 6-7 years ago. It's not a deficiency. It's part of the growth and evolution to create an even stronger alignment, even in the turbulence, to the celestial realm. I am learning how to navigate, to use a different muscle. Because around that time, the way I can describe it is this, a different way of describing it. Dr. Stone, in one of his books, I think it was not Cosmic Ascension, Beyond Ascension, he described the way he ascended, him and what he called a core group, which is 7 people that he met for a period of 4 years or 5 years together, 2 or 3 times a week. And they all did similar heavy spiritual work. And because of the collective effort that they were doing, channeling and doing all kinds of deep, deep connection to the spiritual hierarchy, they all ascended together. Given the environment that we exist in now, if Dr. Stone or his collective were trying to ascend now, this is in 1987 to 1990 or something like that, around that range. If they were trying to ascend right now, they would not be able to do it. There are too many distractions, too many big things. Dr. Stone lived in California. And where he lived in California was hit by fire 3 times. He would have had to flee because of wildfire. When you have that kind of immediate need, you're not going to remember your connection to the spiritual hierarchy and remain completely neutral to everything. Fight or flight is going to take over. Do you understand? That's a great example for me of where we are. And yet, I remember him saying this. He said, you're not ascended where things are going well. You know you're ascended when you're sick and you have a fever or diarrhea, and you still have to remain in alignment to God. That's when you're really being tested to know what your alignment is. So we are being tested because there's a purge going around the world right now to find that alignment to the divine and to still remain and create that point of focus. What I'm alluding to and I'm leading to, I'm trying to bring us by telling you this narrative and creating this thread of the story, is that it's not just about the discipline to create a practice, but it's about a state of awareness that is aligned to abundant living and flow. Instead of the fear, the lack, the panic, and the loss of control. Because if you remain in that consciousness, you will attract more of that. So it's to find a way to disconnect yourself to the obvious external event that are trying to inflate and inflame, for that matter, these kind of emotions, and find a way back into a belief that all of that is illusion and Maya. Yes, if there's a fire behind me, I'm going to run. If there's a crowd that's coming in, that's trying to, a rowdy crowd, I'm going to exclude myself out of there. I'm going to do all the things that are physically necessary to continue to exist, but I'm going to still do it, as Dr. Stone used to call it, involve detachment. You're involved in the world, but you're still detached to final outcome that says, I need to be X, Y, Z. If I don't do this, this is the end of the world. Instead of seeing everything linearly, you have to understand that understand every experience as a multi-dimensional thing, like a fan. That there are lots of different ways of handling it. There is and I have to be honest with you, there was a because if I think of all the things that I'm worried about, the lack that I think are in my life, and I'm worried about them, it's not true. Because I've been blessed. God has been giving me so many signs of blessing to tell me the lack is not there. Abundance is there. Because it's not just the lack that shows up. Abundance shows up too, but I don't see the abundance. But if I sit down in meditation and pay attention to it and say to, for example, I remember one time I was at the Kabbalah Center, and one of the women there was the Zohar teacher. She was talking to one of the students she kept on talking about everything wrong that happened to her. And then this happened and this. She went on and on and on. And I remember she stopped her. She said, stop. She said, Tell me 3 things over the past 2 weeks that were good that happened for you. I remember, and she looked at her like, that really was like so powerful for me. Because she's focusing on all the chaos. She said, but it's impossible for you to exist in the world for only chaos to happen for a month or for 2 months. There had to be something good. Tell me a few good things that happened in your life. You know how people are saying all the time to do a gratitude journal and to look in your life to see the stuff that you were grateful for or the good things that happened for you. So I'm realizing that a lot of time I'm allowing the agitation and the narrative of, because everyone you talk to, did you hear what happened? Did you hear what happened to this place? Did you hear? And, everybody's talking about the same thing. It's the encroachment, the cloud, and the cloud eventually penetrates. So I'm saying, be gone, be gone. And I'm trying to focus on the good, holding a different alignment. Because guess what? What you focus your consciousness is the reality that you will exist in. As you move through turbulence. Everybody could be in fear. If you, on the other hand, are focusing on the abundant flow and the light that's within you, nothing will touch you. Nothing, absolutely nothing. This is spiritual truth. Like attract like. This is spiritual law. You need to become the very edge of a driving rod of power, where your certainty is so real and you exist so much in that certainty that only goodness and positivity and alignment to light and to the divine can come to you, because it is your birthright and you believe this true and true so completely and so thoroughly that the entire universe doesn't have any choice but to obey. It is not an intellectual mathematical thing, but rather it's a profound release of control and trust in the higher powers that you're being supported and you have never been abandoned. And joy, happiness, prosperity, health, immortality is your birthright. And when you, and again, I cannot describe it into words. I'm saying words here, but it's not words. It's an intangible, yet more real state of awareness that exists in your core as a truth. If you know this to be truth, nothing in the universe can touch you. You have immunity, more than immunity, you're invincible against everything. All the lack, all of that stuff will just, everyone around you may be like, but not you. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm conveying the right way, because it's not the cup that I'm holding in my hand. It's not something solid. But it's more real, because the universe is created by intention. And it's that intention that you need to hold. If you can think of it as a driving rod that Gandalf or a magician is holding, it's the tip of the rod. It's the fulcrum. It is the very point where the wave function collapse begin to be created, where the belief is so strong that all of reality collapses in that direction. This is your truth. This is who you are, and by decree and by law, I am creating it. I am abundant, I am free, I am liberated, and nothing will touch me, nothing. Any questions, any comments?
I just want to say that this is an important tool in these times. This tool is not the right word. Important information. I remember when you told me, as I was telling you about the spiritual work that I would do on the subway for an hour up to work and back, and you'd say, and I said, I'm not in an ashram at the top of some mountain, but I still managed to do the work. And you said, we are going to be before the throne of God. So powerful because of that. We do not isolate ourselves to become pure, to become ascended. And so what we're doing now in these turbulent times is akin to that, yet with the information you've given us, we can still get through the time, survive the time, so to speak, flourish even in the time, and still have the purification process, the ascension process active in us, so that we can also help others who don't have that information, who are suffering much more, as you recounted about your friend. And lastly, I just want to say it's a bit like the forgeron, the blacksmith who has to heat the metal in order to work with it, right? So it is in the heating that we are witnessing this turbulent time, but it's not for naught, because we know that the abundance is here. We can grasp it, we can change our perception to allow it to come to us, as surely as that piece of metal knew that what they were being created into was something much more refined. That's just a comment. Also, I congratulate you, because you are on the receiving end of a lot of turbulence that others have, that they bring to you and look to you to assist them. So the rest of us may or may not, I speak just for myself, not encounter that kind of burden, that not that it's a burden you wouldn't gladly carry, but I think that it's easier for some of us, myself included, because we don't have that aspect of dealing with tragic or heavy burdens that others are carrying as well. Anyway, I just wanted to.
Well, Janice, and thank you for the comment, both comments, and to the second point that you're making. Actually, it's an opportunity for me, because in the example I just mentioned of my friend that I saw on the waterfront today, she allowed me to understand it's a mirror, that there is something inside of me that I'm still not seeing. Just like her, as I'm looking at her, and I'm looking at her from the outside and realizing this is ridiculous. She's making herself sick for no reason. This is not the truth. This is not really what is happening. All of a sudden, there was like a detachment. Pierre, listen to what you're saying. Listen to what you're saying. The same thing is happening in you. So when I have these encounters, if I can listen to myself whilst I'm talking to them, I can learn something. Because there's a part of the external experience that actually is happening in me. Not exactly the same, but there's some part of it that can extrapolate within me. And this is the way you evolve wisdom. It's like Dr. Sloan used to say to me, you teach what you want to learn. There is not one time that you teach something that you don't learn something from it. This is the way teaching really is. And this is true of any class I've ever done, even in this class I'm doing right now. Because as I rehearsed it, I meditated upon what I'm going to say ahead of time. When I begin to deliver it, because of the interaction, the energetic or something, and what you say and how you respond, all of a sudden there's a pocket of something that I didn't see before that begin to show up for me. And I have to go back afterward and write notes and say, remember this.
It's the listening, and perhaps that you were speaking about yesterday, that is that attunement and alignment that opens up other possibilities of enlightenment.
Yeah, and the listening, the deep listening, active listening is actually the key, because a lot of times, if you, again, and also so as I'm listening to somebody, I'm empathetically listening to what they're saying. And as I'm listening to what they're saying, then it begins to remind me that the state of confusion and chaos that she's in exists somewhere inside of me. I recognize that frequency. It's in me. I am confused and I'm in chaos about something too. So thank you, universe, for bringing me this reminder. So it's not a burden, it's a reminder.
Good.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question, Pierre.
Yes.
I was just thinking as you were talking, because I find myself, how should I say this? I find myself going in, and as things change and happen around me or in me, I find myself going in sometimes out of, like, you could say bubble fear, perhaps, or sometimes it's stronger, sometimes it's just kind of around me. Particularly that we're doing the queries in every day, so we pretty much constantly processing something. And so sometimes these bubbles show up, but it's not a bad thing. I'm just simply, I know I'm processing something. So if I go, I know that when I go in and out of these bubbles, my alignment changes. It's not always maybe as easy. Sometimes it's harder, but does that mean, but I know in my heart that I'm still aligned. So does that mean that that's not good enough? Do we need to do something else to have, more direct alignment? Or is it maybe, like you said, sign of the times, where maybe we're going to be going through this in and outs a little more than we would otherwise, but it's still okay? So that's my question.
So the way I'm going to answer this is by saying to you, perfection is not a goal. It's a process.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So the idea being that if you think you're perfect and that you're there and you have it and etc., then it demonstrates your lack of maturity.
No, that's not what I meant to say.
Let me continue. I understand what you're saying. what I'm trying to say is this. Whatever state that you're in, even when you're in process and you're doing whatever it is to process feelings and emotion, etc., that process is actually more holy than you feeling that cosmically you're smiling from ear to ear. Because you're actually digging deep and you're untying profound knots. What is it that Joseph Campbell said? The cave that you're afraid to go in holds the treasure that you're seeking. And it's that continual process that paves perfection.
Yes, I agree. But the reason I was asking, it was that, and maybe I misunderstood, but you were saying that you didn't feel as aligned to the access sometimes, and you said that there was maybe an issue.
Well, and the fact that I felt that in the past, and I'm being perfectly candid with you, I wish I was in that space. I felt so much better there, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. That's a benchmark, okay? When you first, and let me explain the ascension process. When you first meet the light and you begin to ascend and you see your true spiritual body, it is so potent and so powerful that it becomes like a marker for you. But it is not a place that you will remain in on a constant basis. You will dip down. And you will continue to, and it will be a place that you will always remember that I need to get back to that place and beyond it. Okay? There was a play years ago when I was in mystery school that we did as a group. I was part of this drama group, and the play demonstrated this. The first experience was this initiate, this candidate experienced the first level of enlightenment. And then after that, he went to 7 or 9 different stations where there were all these different turbulence, including the fact there were lightnings and he fell down and all of that and so on and so forth. And eventually he ended up to a place where he was able to habitate the first state, the first encounter. Instead of him temporarily going into it, he was able to completely reside in it. So the process of ascension is typically the same, because that's what the play was about, is the fact that you, and by the way, the way the play was talking about it is ancient cities in ancient time that were very famous for having mystery schools in them. And it was a beautiful play. I love that play. So what I'm saying is that maybe the understanding of the process of ascension is that it's not a permanent place where you park yourself into and you never leave. Remember, you can ascend, you can descend. And in fact, we are constantly, everything in the universe is in motion. Everything is moving. Everything around us is moving, and we're colliding and passing each other, and we're exchanging energy. It's so fluid, and it's a beautiful ballet. It's a cosmic performance. And as this is happening, at the moment it may appear to my consciousness that I've lost something, but in fact I didn't lose anything. I am learning how to leap higher by dipping lower so that I can have better spring, so that I can jump higher. Does that make any sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Oh, P, I was just thinking as you were talking, it's like a dance. It's like a dance, and you don't always stay at the same tempo. You may change, you may, turn. Like you said, you could jump, but it's constant movement, but it's still rhythmic and it still flows and it changes according to what is happening. And I was thinking earlier, like when you're driving a car, you may be driving along for a period of time that you're not even consciously aware that you're driving, but you are behind the wheel. But it's always a series of constant adjustments that you're making to keep the car in the direction, that you were headed. But then different awarenesses, different things happen, on the road, and it may be that you would have to change your direction, turn around, move over. So it's a constant adjustment. You don't drive always at the very same pace. There are road conditions, weather conditions, there's other traffic on the road. There's so many other things that determine the speed you could make. But the point is you stay in the flow, you do the things that are necessary to remain safe. And when you were talking for my own self, I could always see better for someone else than I could see for myself. And to take that other person as a mirror, I think that you're giving yourself a gift when you could find it, when you could find that someone that mirrors something back to you that allows you to make an adjustment, in your own whatever pace you're going at. I had found something earlier because I've really been thinking about this, listening and hearing, and for so many years we were working on the merging with our higher self. And I found this thing, and I know I saw this years ago because this is in one of the old messages that I decided to save for myself with some site that I was looking at. And I'm not going to read all of this to you, but I will send it to you, everybody that's on the call, so that you can read it for yourself, because there was so much here. And it said, I call on my higher self to merge with me, guide me, and assist me in declaring, embodying, and enacting 100% sovereignty of my being in this and every now moment, in alignment with my I am presence and in accordance with my chosen purpose, goals, and intentions for this lifetime. And then it goes through calling on the various angels. And then I said, this spoke to me. It says, in making this declaration, I acknowledge and accept full responsibility for my being and actions, and I continue to fervently request overt guidance and assistance from my higher self and my I am presence, which I in no way to be considered to be an interference. I commit to both hearing and enacting that guidance, and in turn to listening to and guiding the elemental consciousness that contributes to my personal collective consciousness in this lifetime. And it says, to the extent that I may be unable or unwilling to hear and enact the guidance of my higher self or my I am presence, I request that the guidance continue to be given in various ways, such that I can understand and act on it, and until I am able to understand, and to act on it. And you're asking that in full sovereignty. And I just thought that this was so beautiful, because you're choosing all the time, to heal from the different fears and the traumas and whatever your own personal limitations, and you're making constant adjustments. And so I used to be very hard on my own self, but I'm learning to be nicer to myself and more gentle, and reminding myself that, hey, you once knew this.
Mhm.
So you once knew, so now as you become aware of it again, you take back that responsibility.
Yep.
And so the things that you were saying, yes, I could relate to and identify with them, because it is a personal, a journey, and it is a constant watching your own self as well. And whatever we, think we know, so many times, she said, whatever you know, there's a higher height to that and a deeper depth to that. So even if you understood it at a particular point, there's more to know and there's more to uncover. So we just take each opportunity that's given and be gentle and kind and allow yourself, the time to get back in sync. And I think you were talking one time about these different clocks and they all came into alignment with one another.
Mhm.
That's the way that it is. We're making adjustments all the time. And it's not you're all right or all wrong at any particular point, but you're constantly making adjustments.
Mhm. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Celia. I'm reminded when you were talking, we have to go easy on ourselves, particularly as it relates to what we thought we knew, and how we lost it. I can't quote the entire line because it was part of an initiation that I received when I was in mystery school, and I took oath, and I don't want to break anything. So, but I can tell you, in that initiation, they talk about the first illumination, the first moment of illumination that you get when the candidate actually receive that first light we were talking about just before. You see your full spiritual body and you understand who you really are. And then they begin to tell you in that initiation of all the things that could diminish that light. Be aware of such and such because it's a destroyer of light. Be aware of this, that, or the other because that's also a destroyer of light. Be aware of several things. And that stayed with me. That we keep thinking that whatever state we're in, that state is permanent because we're thinking everything as a linear scale, like a graph that goes with a straight line, but it's not a straight line. It's a sine curve that keeps going up and down like this. And this is the way real growth occurs. But there will be peaks and valleys.
Right.
But the valleys are not a moment of despair. It's not because you have fallen, although emotionally I may feel this way, that I was better when I'm 7 years ago, and blah, blah, blah. But it's not that I was better. It's that I saw myself in alignment because I was isolated in a bubble and I was able to enter it so much easier. Now that I have all these other factors in, let me now put the rubber on the road and learn how to navigate that turbulent environment by applying the same principle that I now remember. And when I rise over the peak, I will go to a higher height. That's the key. That's the key to understand. And again, intention holds everything. Intention holds everything. You have to understand that whatever dimensional reality we exist in, it's an illusion. It's Maya. It's a school. It's a gigantic construct that has been created so that we can learn how to be called the fulcrum, how to become the very edge of that driving rod. And when you're able, and I'm not saying I'm there all the time. I don't want you to misconstrue that I'm there 100% of the time. There are times I'm there. I'm in that certainty. I'm in that fulcrum. And I know who I am and I'm decreeing it. And I can exist in that at moment, maybe at the most 4 days at a time. Sometimes for hours, sometimes for minutes. Okay? But when I exist in that and I hold it, the entire universe is hearing me. Because guess what? You and I are co-creative partner with God. We are God and goddesses. And when you are existing in that state, you are now being a creative being, a creatrix, a being that is able. And by the way, when you worry because you're in lack, when you worry because you think you're doing exact same thing with the driving around, only in the negative end. And you will attract more, like you will attract more problems, you will attract more difficulties. You're doing exactly the opposite. So whatever the issue is, whether it's health, whether it's money, whatever, and it could be all of the above. Abundant living is your birthright. It's you and I. Suffering is a foreign thing to a God being. Suffering doesn't exist. It's an alien concept. It's an illusion. Lack is an illusion. Separation doesn't exist. As long as we can maintain our consciousness in that certainty and knowing who we really are. Now, there will be challenges. The challenges will present themselves, and they present themselves in all kinds of ways. I don't really watch the news. I watch stuff on YouTube here and there and so on and so forth. But I have a lot of friends who send me all kinds of crazy videos. And it's crazy videos about mostly the chaos that are happening in the world. Did you see this? Did you realize this? Blah, blah, blah. And I'll be honest with you, half of it I begin to watch and I click them off. I click them off. I'm like, I don't want to watch this. But it's still at the edge. It's still the cloud. It's still the cloud. It's still at the edge, and it's still rotating around me, telling me you're not safe. Things are not safe. You know, we should flee. We should run. Something is wrong. Whereas I do receive the positive things as well, but they're far and few. They're way smaller than the chaotic thing. Way smaller. What I'm saying is that we should reinforce with each other the positivity. And we should cultivate a space where that certainty can grow. Rather than cultivate a space where it's the negativity, it's the fear, it's the fear. And by the way, I remember when I was in mystery school, one of the teachers said to us, if you're a light and you're in a room where there's 1,000 people in darkness, your light will begin to dim. Because it will begin to encroach in you. But when you have more people like you around you, that light will shine. Because collectively, you will begin to support each other. This is the whole point of the Council of 12 and all of us coming together as a group. This is the point of the monadic merger. It's all of us coming together. This is the point of creating community, a spiritual family. So how much, again, I'm still trying to navigate how to filter these mass media communication. Okay? How to filter them and to pick out the positive and the supportive and all that. One of the things that I do is that I watch a lot of music things as a way to elevate me, because music is a universal language. With Janice, I share a lot of stuff. I bombard her with too much stuff, to be honest. And I share with some of you as well, some of the musical stuff that I discover, and you share some of the stuff with me as well, as a way to help support the positivity and the growth, right? And it could be dance, it could be any kind of form of public art, because the arts is a way to bring ascended culture to humanity. And maybe one or two other spiritual teachers, sometimes my students share with me, have you heard of this guy or this person? They were channeling this, they were doing this, they were saying that or the other, and sometimes they send me stuff in that kind of category, And it's actually somebody that's giving a vibrational frequency that's going down. But they don't know any better. I don't blame them for that, right? And I have to come back and say, well, that part I believe, but that other part is just, it's a negative frequency. I don't believe that to be true. But again, if we can foster an environment in which we exist in that degree, in that space where we are connecting back to that alignment, and again, understand that the peak and the valleys are part of the path. So if you're in the valley and you're processing, it doesn't mean that you're misaligned. It means that you're processing so that you can elevate higher. I remember when I was at the Kabbalah Center and I was studying, one of the Kabbalists, the head Kabbalist, Ravberg, he was talking about the fact that people were asking him why in his inner circle, because there were many centers everywhere in London and other places and all that. They said to him, you get better with all these people that are on the satellites. Why is it that you don't bring the people that you like around you? You know what he said? And that just kind of surprised me. He said, because how else would I grow if I had only people I agree with around me? He said, I have to go out of my comfort zone. I have to become uncomfortable and be confronted with things, with people that are difficult. And this is the way I'm going to evolve and grow, because it will allow me to become more tolerant, more accepting. And it will point out things to me to go outside of my comfort zone. And I will spiritually evolve from this. I was actually quite surprised at that answer. And he's doing it. The people who were, assistant, people who were close to him, were not necessarily people he got along with. They were difficult people. The people he got along with, he sent them to other offices, to other places, other cities. So as you go to the valleys, honor the valleys, because this is still part of the process. There is a movie that I've watched. There are different versions of it you can find online, called Journey to the East, to the West. And it is about a priest who was tasked by Buddha and Kuan Yin to go to the West to bring back a new sutra to China to illuminate people. And in the process of going there, he got 3 companions that were 3 former demons who Kuan Yin is trying to redeem. A pig demon, a water demon, and a monkey demon. And in the process of this, there was a series, there's a very specific one that has 61 episodes that was all filmed on location. It's spectacular. Episode 6, when I watched it, I cried like a baby. I don't understand Mandarin. I'm telling you, I must have been Chinese in a past life, because I understand everything that they're saying. I was crying and wailing, because there's a scene in there where the priest first encounter, because in a past life, he was actually a devotee, a disciple of the Gautama Buddha, but he didn't ascend. And in this lifetime, they're trying to set him up to ascend. And Kuan Yin came. And when Kuan Yin arrived from the clouds and descended to give him the task and show him the cloak of his old cloak that was saved, and they brought it to him for him to wear, and he got transformed into light, I cried like a baby. The reason I'm mentioning this is that in the process of finding this very important sutra and returning it back, there were 61 episodes where they were challenged, seriously challenged, by all kind of demon and temptation. It was not smooth sailing. But I watched all of it, and I binged. There were days when I discovered it and I started watching it, I would watch 3 of them until 2 o'clock in the morning in a row. Because the moment it began, I was like, oh, I'm inhaling this. I'm inhaling this because the spiritual lessons were so, and the graphic, the costume, it was beautiful. I'm trying to illuminate this for you in a way so that, because it sounds like something so intangible and so abstract. It is not intangible. It is more real. If you can hold, because throughout all of this, what this priest was able to do, he got tempted, but he kept on holding the intention of the mission, of the purpose. He got tempted in all kind of ways, by romantic love, by all kind of distraction, demons, all kinds of stuff. And by the way, the process, as he's going through this process, his bonding relationship with the 3 demons became so tight and so beautiful. And there was one scene in there, again, I broke down and cried. And I don't remember which episode it was, but what happened is that he was being tempted by a demon, and the demon, and the monkey demon was, I think it was a spider demon. I forgot, yeah, probably a spider demon. And the monkey demon is his greatest protector. And by the way, Kuan Yin in Chinese, the way they call her is Pusa, Bodhisattva Pusa. And here, Pusa told me to protect the Pusa. And then he began to pray, and he said to his, because the demon has infected him, the spider demon infected him, and he said to the monkey companion, he said, "Do you trust me?" He said, "Yes, master, I trust you. And you know I love you, right?" "Yes, master, I love you too." And he said to him, "Then I need you to kill me." And he's like, "I can't do this, master, I can't do this." And he began to cry and wail. He said, "Trust me on this. I need you to kill me." I broke down. He was so torn and so broken. And he has a golden staff, and he took the staff and he stroked it on his master. And the moment he so-called killed him to disintegrate him, this is the moment he got freed and got reborn. I'm telling you, the lessons were like so profound in this series. And I'm saying this to you because I want you to understand that sometimes what appears as a destruction is the phoenix dying to rise again. What appears like complete chaos and other, chaotic experiences is actually the exact inverse in disguise. So I'm saying this to you because I want you to see the whole picture. Don't just seek the high, but honor the entire path, including when you're in the valleys. Any last minute questions or comments? All right, let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back to do a closing meditation. 5 minutes, okay? Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your entire consciousness begin to emanate from your heart space. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And realize that you can perceive, sense, feel, and know 360 degrees all around you. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And notice what you noticed. Listen. Listen as if the more than 50 trillion cells in your body had ears. Become aware of any expansion, sensations, pressure, or release that may show up for you. Remember, remember, remember your alignment and original covenant with God. In infinity times infinity, and in the blessed field of endlessness. Find your original covenant alignment with God. It is not your responsibility to fix, repair, or do anything. Simply ask for this covenant and alignment to be present with you and in you. For at no point have you been ever disconnected to it. Simply release your fears, your lack, your undeservedness, your control, your agitation, and your incessant desire of having to do to deserve. That alignment is your birthright. All you have to do is release the narrative, your inner dialogue, the deceit and the lie that you're telling yourself. that are keeping you separated and disconnected. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachment, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. In the very heart of God, in the womb and matrix of Mother, Father God, I am that I am. And I am abundantly connected to immortal flow, endless prosperity, health, happiness, joy, and the incessant benevolent gifts pouring into me from the creative principle. Let this nexus point, this fulcrum, and the certainty of it precipitate into my entire 3D existence. The driving rod of manifestation. I am instantaneously, abundantly flowing with the living waters of endless benevolence. Ease, peace, love, prosperity, and joy. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome, Sylvia. You're welcome. Hmm.
Thank you again. Thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome, Janice. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening and thank you for participating in the class. I want to thank everyone on Patreon for their support. I also want to, if you're listening to us on YouTube, please like this video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel share the video so that the algorithm will increase and we can serve more people. I want to thank all of you. Keep the practice. Remember, focus on the positivity and that alignment and that fulcrum, and we're going to be okay. We'll demonstrate this to the world. Good night, everyone. I'll talk to you next week. Blessings.
Good night.
Good night.